Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Within each of us, there is an innate desire to better ourselves and to develop ourselves. That is why today in the world, the industry of personality development is such a thriving and booming industry. Walk into any bookstore and you will find hundreds of books on this subject. Literally every day, a new author is coming out with his book wherein he is trying to teach his own style through which we could better our personalities. But within all these authors, there are selected few authors who would have written their books many years back. But even today, if you read their writings are very, very applicable and very helpful as well. A few examples of those authors would be Dale Carnegie, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and Dr. Stephen Covey. May Allah bless all these great guys. Now, in the year 1989, Dr. Stephen Covey wrote his masterpiece book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is that amazing book which he had written. In this book, Dr. Covey basically teaches us 7 habits, which when we inculcate them into our lives, that will give us benefit not only in our personal life, but in every domain of our life. And the fact that even today, this is one of the best-selling books proves this point. Many years after the success of this book, Dr. Covey was asked that would he like to change any of these 7 habits and why are these habits even applicable today? He replied by saying that these 7 habits have been based on principles. Principles, are like mountains. They are unshakable, unmovable. So, what would apply 1,000 years back would even apply today and even for the next 1,000 years to come. So in this amazing book, Dr. Covey teaches us 7 habits. And habit number 2 is to begin with the ends in mind. Dr. Covey gives us a very nice and simple exercise. He tells us that we must imagine that we are at a funeral. And whose funeral is it? It's your own. You are lying dead there. There are people gathered mourning for you and you are watching all this. Now, 4 people who mean a lot to you have been selected to speak about you. At this point, Dr. Covey tells us that we must think and imagine at that point what would we like these people to talk about us? What are our traits or qualities? What kind of life would we like these people to speak about us? Dr. Covey says that every action that we do it twice. Once we do it mentally, and then that action takes a physical form. It is like when you're designing a house. First you make a blueprint and then you go ahead and build it. So, to begin with the ends in mind basically means that when you are doing your action in your mind, before physically doing it, you must ask a simple question. And that is, will this action take me to my desired goal? A simple example. If you are driving and you want to go to a certain destination, before you begin driving, you will mentally play the route you want to take. And what decides whether you will take a route or no? The fact that will that route take you to your destination? It is as simple as that. So to begin with the ends in mind means that if I, for instance, want to be a good leader in my house, so whenever I do something or whenever I'm going to do something or I am going to say something, then I must just ask myself this simple question: will this action take me to my desired goal? And that is about how you must begin with the ends in mind. And that is what is striking about Stephen Covey's work. What he's saying is so simple and so logical that it just goes down so easily. Now, let's move to the religion of Islam. When Imam Ali alayhi salam was asked to define Islam, he said that Islam is a set of principles and beliefs which will satisfy every seeker of truth and reality. So does Islam encompass this principle of beginning with the ends in mind? Yes, it does. And not only does it encompass it, it lays a lot of importance on it as well. Let me introduce a nice book to you. This book is called Self-Building, and it has been written by Ayatollah Ibrahim Amini. It's an amazing book. It's a practical course on developing yourself, on developing not only your personality, but even deeper, developing your character. And this book is written for everyday people like you and me. In the introduction itself, Ayatollah Amini says that to develop yourself, you need not abandon this dunya. You do not become Tyagiji. Now in this book, there is an interesting narration. A man comes to Prophet Muhammad and says, "Ya Muhammad, advise me." Prophet Muhammad turns to him and before advising him, tells him that I will advise you. Will you listen to me? Now he's like, yes, I will. Again, Prophet turns to him and says, I will advise you, but will you listen to me? Now, psychologically, this man is totally set up. He has all his attention. Again, the third time the Prophet tells him, I will advise you, but will you listen to me? Now, when he has his entire attention, Prophet Muhammad tells him that whenever you do any action, you make sure you think about the end result. If that end result is good, then only you go ahead and do that action. If in the year 1989, Stephen Covey wrote about the second habit of beginning with the ends in mind, then 1400 years back, Prophet Muhammad told us the same thing. That whenever you do an action, first you keep the end result in mind. Now, do you want a Quranic reference to this? Let me give you one. In the Holy Quran, you have chapter number 59. Scholars say that this is one chapter which you must recite before going to bed. There are many ethical advices in this chapter which would help you develop yourself. Of course, reading it before going to bed, one benefit would be that subconsciously, while sleeping, your mind would be working on those teachings. So in this chapter, chapter 59, verse number 18, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Well, I will not tell you that. You know why? Because itne paise mein to itna hi milega. Why don't you go ahead? If it's really interesting to you, then pick up your Holy Quran, chapter 59, verse number 18, and you will be amazed. In that verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the same principle of beginning with the ends in mind. So, as an exercise, today onwards, try this out. Whenever you do an action, any action, you keep your end goal in mind. And simple, ask yourself, will this action take me to my final goal? If yes, logic says you do it. If no, then common sense says that you abandon it. Until next time, thank you very much and Khuda Hafiz.